Hey guys, it's Mrs. Longmire here. In our previous lesson, we talked about how readers compare text. They look at two different texts, or in our case, last time, topics, and they look to see what's the same and what's different. And the first thing you do is list all the reading voice details and thinking voice details from the first text A, and that goes on one side of our T-chart. And then we list all the details and thoughts from text B on this side of the T-chart. And the categories down the middle help us to know what kinds of details that we're looking for, those categories in pink. So last time we compared pizza to ice cream, and we compared peanut butter crackers to Oreos. And you guys, as an assignment, you might have compared summer break to winter break. And we gave you the categories that you're looking for. So today we're going to talk about doing this actually with a text, with a fiction or literature text. And the next step that we'll do after we list all the details from the two texts is we're going to start to group the related details. We're going to look at our T-chart and we're going to see, what do they have that's the same? And then what do they have that's different? And sort of group that information together. And we're going to, the fourth step is to label the categories. So they're similar and their characters are similar, or they're different because their settings are completely different. Or they're, so grouping the information together and then telling the category, comparing the categories and how they're similar and how they're different. So when we do literature today, the categories down the middle, the pink categories, they never change. Whenever you're comparing two stories, two fiction texts, the categories are going to be the same, and they are the story elements. So remember back a few lessons ago when we talked about the parts of a story, like the characters. Who are the characters? And then we also learned what the character does, says, and thinks. Their actions, their thoughts, their dialogue, all that's part of the character. Okay? And the next category would be the setting. Where does this take place? When does it take place? What time of day, what season, morning or night, all those types of things can be part of the setting. And then we talked about there's always a problem, and we had our black flag with the big question mark. What's the problem? There's always some sort of problem in a fiction text or fiction story. And then how is that problem solved? How do they get it fixed? Did they fix the problem? Did someone come and help? That's called the solution. And then the other story element will be the theme, the lesson. What lesson did the character learn, or did we learn by reading about what the character went through? There's usually some sort of lesson that we learn. And so those are going to be on pink today in the middle of our T-chart. So we have character. Those are going to be the pink categories. Character. We're going to look at setting. That's going to be a section. And then the problem and solution is going to be together there. The problem and solution. And then the theme or the lesson that we can learn from these characters. So those will never change when you're comparing two stories. Okay, so I'm going to show you what this could look like when you do it with two stories. And then we'll do a couple of rows, and then I'll need your help. Okay, so we are going to compare the Three Bears. Remember, we have used that book a couple of times in some of these lessons that we've done. And even if you haven't watched those lessons, you know the story of the Three Bears and Goldilocks and the Three Bears. That's going to be text A. So we'll pull all the details about Goldilocks and the Three Bears, and we'll put it on this side. And then text B is going to be the Three Little Pigs and the Big Bad Wolf. You know that story? The Three Little Pigs? That's going to be over on the right side. That's our blue text. So remember that we do all of one side, and then we'll pull all the details of the other side, and then we'll start to look and see if there's anything that's similar and anything that's different. That's what you do when you compare text. Okay, so let's think first of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And I'm gonna show you what this could look like first, and then I'm gonna need your help. Okay, so characters. Let me think about Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Well, there's the three bears, right? We have Papa Bear, Mama Bear, and Baby Bear. I'm gonna put those right there. And I know, and thinking about what they did, they went for a walk in the woods while their porridge was cooling. And then when they came back home, they found Goldilocks, right? And they kind of scared her off, or they screamed, and she woke up and ran out, right? So I'm just thinking about what the character does and thinks and says. And then another character was Goldilocks, right? Goldilocks. And she was the little girl that came wandering in to their cottage, and she ate Baby Bear's porridge, and she sat in his chair and broke it, and she sat in their bed, right? All those things that she was doing. And I'm going to use my thinking voice for a minute. And she was eating somebody else's food, sitting in someone else's chair, sleeping in someone else's bed. That makes me kind of think that she's maybe greedy, like she's taking things that aren't hers, or she's a little bit nosy, or curious, right? She's kind of curious and nosy. I put this on yellow because that's my thinking voice thoughts about Goldilocks. It kind of makes me think that, she's a little bit greedy and kind of nosy. Okay, now let me think about the setting. Where does this take place? Well, I know it's in Baby Bear's cottage, right? Baby Bear's house, and it's in the woods. And it's usually daytime or morning because I think their porridge was their breakfast, right? So I wrote daytime. I drew the little cottage, and I drew some trees because it kind of happens in the woods. Okay. And then is there a problem? Well, Goldilocks ate all of Baby Bear's porridge. She broke his chair, and she slept in his bed. I'd say that's a problem, right? She ate all his porridge. I drew a little bowl. She broke his chair, and she slept in his bed. So that's part of the problem. And then the solution, Goldilocks ran away when they came back in the house, and she never bothered them again. I'm going to put that up there too. She never bothered them again. And when I think about the theme, like what lesson did Goldilocks learn, or can we learn from Goldilocks? And it's sort of like, I was thinking to not be so curious, not be so nosy or rude, right? Kind of mind your own business is what I was thinking she learned. She learned to mind her own business, right? And not be so rude and go in, kind of trespass into a house that you don't know who lives there, right? Who does that, right? So she learned to mind her own business. Okay. So I pulled all the details about the three bears, the character, setting, problem, solution, and theme. And do you guys want to help me with the three little pigs? Okay, think about the characters that you see in the three little pigs. What characters do you know? Did you say the three little pigs? They were brothers, weren't they? The three little pigs, so I drew the three pigs. Any other characters that you know of in this book? Yeah, did you say the big bad wolf? He's kind of an important character, isn't he? So I drew the big bad wolf. Great job. And the big bad wolf huffs and puffs, doesn't he? Those are his actions, and he tries to blow down their houses, doesn't he? Is that what you said we're thinking? Yeah. And what did the three little pigs do? What were their actions? Yeah. Did you say build a house of straw? And then this one build a house of sticks. And this one build a house of bricks. Is that what you said? Great job. Awesome. Okay. Let's think about the setting. Can you think about where this story takes place? Did you say in the woods? And in the pigs' houses, right? The house of straw, the house of sticks, and the house of bricks. Is that what you said? Great job. Now, what's the problem in the story of the three little pigs? Is there a problem? Yeah. The wolf was trying to blow down their houses, right? He blew down the first two houses, the house of sticks and the house of straw, right? He blew down their houses. And then could he blow down the third house? So that's sort of part of the solution, right? They all went to the house of bricks because the wolf could not blow down the house of bricks. He couldn't blow down the third house. He tried, he huffed and he puffed, but he couldn't do it, could he? Great job. Okay, what theme or lesson do you think the wolf learned from this? Do you think he learned a lesson? Not to mess with those pigs, right? Is that what you said? Yeah, to not be so rude or to mind your own business. Yeah, leave them alone. Leave those pigs alone, right? The wolf learned to mind his own business. Is that what you were thinking? And I put that on yellow because that's our thinking voice. The theme and character traits are always your thinking voice. The author doesn't usually come out and tell you those things. You have to sort of put those things together, remember, and make that inference. Yeah, very good. So that's thinking voice thoughts. Awesome job. You did such a great job. Now our next step is to sort of now look row by row and see if there's anything that's the same, what they have that's similar, and then what they have that's different. I'm going to do a couple rows and then I'm going to need your help. Okay? So if I look at characters, well, there were three, they both have animals. They both have three of an animal, 3 bears and 3 pigs. So both stories have 3 animals, characters, 3 brothers or family, right? Mama bear, Papa bear, baby bear, and the 3 brothers. So 3 animals, all part of a family. And they both kind of have they usually call it like a villain or like kind of like the bad guy, right? Goldilocks comes in and she wasn't invited. And Big Bad Wolf, we know he wasn't invited, right? So they both had somebody come in to their house that wasn't invited. Sort of an intruder. Yeah. Okay. Let me move to setting. Let me see if they have anything that's the same. They both take place in the woods. They both take place in an animal's houses, because the pig's house and the bear's house. Okay, so they both take place in the woods. They both take place in bears' houses. Probably both about the daytime. Yeah. Wow, they have a lot alike. I never really thought about the 3 bears and 3 pigs having so much in common, but their setting is very similar, isn't it? Okay, let's move to the problem and the solution, and now I need your help. Look at the problem and solution and see, do you see anything that's the same in both stories? We have Goldilocks ate all the porridge and broke the chair and slept in her bed, and then she ran away and never came back. And the wolf blew down the first 2 houses, but he couldn't blow down the third house. So he went away and he never bothered him again, right? What's the same? Did you say Goldilocks and the wolf both destroyed things? Yeah. Goldilocks destroyed his porridge and his chair, right? And the wolf destroyed the first 2 houses. That's so amazing. I never thought about how they were alike in that way. Yeah. Anything else that's the same? Did you say Goldilocks ran away and never came back, and the Big Bad Wolf went away and never came back? Great job. The bad guys went away in this story and never came back. And let's look at the theme. Do they have any of the same message or lesson that you can learn? Did you say mind your own business? Both characters learned to mind their own business. Goldilocks learned to not go in their house anymore, and the Big Bad Wolf learned to not try to blow down the pigs' houses anymore. Yeah, they both kind of learned the lesson to mind their own business, worry about themselves, leave these people alone, right? Great job. Now, if you were in Mrs. Longmire's class, I would have you practice this some more with two other stories that we've read together so far in some of these lessons. So if you look on my screen, we have Pete the Cat, where the Pete the Cat, a pet for Pete, where Pete gets a new pet, a goldfish named Goldie. Remember that story? And all of his friends wanted paintings of, he started to paint pictures of Goldie, and everybody wanted a painting, and he was trying so hard to make sure that everyone could get a painting. At the end, he painted a big, huge painting and put it on his car and drove around town so everyone could see it. Yeah, remember that? And then Pete the Cat, Pete's Big Lunch. And this is one where he wanted to make a sandwich. He was hungry and he just kept adding things and adding things and adding things. And then at the end, he eats his whole sandwich and he shares it with his friends. Okay, so if you want to, you can print, if you have a printer, you can print this T-chart out and compare the character and the setting and the problem and solution and the theme or the lesson you learned from both of these stories and see if they have anything that's the same and if they have anything that's different. Okay, or if you don't have a printer, you can just take some paper, draw some lines, and make your own teacher. I will also put links to these stories on Epic, because you might want to read them again, or have your parents read them, or listen to them, because you can push play and listen to them. Maybe listen to them again because it's been a little bit, and that way the story is fresh in your mind when you're pulling out those details. So I would have you pull out the details about all of those story elements and then see if they have anything that's the same. That's what I would have you do if you were Mrs. Longmire's class, but your teacher might have an even better idea.